They're 9-week-old puppies, girls, and we also have some a 3-month-old female yellow lab. So I would absolutely love it if you guys are in a position to take a puppy. Maybe you thought about waiting an extra month, or maybe you thought about anything else, like maybe you haven't been asked yet for a puppy, or you haven't heard from your coordinator. Reach out to your coordinator. We would love to get you into a puppy this weekend. I'm off my soapbox now.
Nope, that's a good soapbox to have, because once you have that puppy, once you decide to take one of those slightly older puppies, perhaps you're going to go to puppy class, and that's what today's session is all about. Um, so way back when, gosh, it's almost been a year now, when we did, I think Laura did a session all about going out with your puppies. And so this presentation that I'm doing today is all on the heels of that. So I've dialed it in very specifically, not just going out with your puppy, but when you're heading out to puppy class, how can you be the most prepared? So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Melissa Raymond. I'm one of the puppy development coordinators, and I'm joined by my 3 friends and 3 cohorts and co-workers and other puppy development coordinators, BJ Joshi, Barry Lynn Wood, and Laura Fisher. Um, if everyone can do me a favor, we're getting a little bit of feedback in the background. So just double check to see if your microphone has a slash through it. There's a little microphone icon. We're getting a little bit of feedback. And in order to give a really nice presentation, we like to make sure all the mics are off. Also with your camera feed as well, make sure that is off. All right, so we're gonna jump in without further ado. One of the things that we can do that is going to help us to be prepared for our puppy outings or to have our puppy bag ready and available. So, as a golden rule, whenever you take home one of our future leader dog puppies, whether it is 8 weeks old or 8 months old, we always give you a puppy bag. And for those of you that have kids, this puppy bag is very much like a diaper bag. It's your tools on the go. Now, first, we stuff it with all of the basic supplies that you need in order to raise a puppy. So we supply you with things like an identification card and baseball trading cards, your leash, your collar, a food measuring cup, typically a Kong and a Nylabone, and again, all of those basic tools that you need to raise a puppy. So once you get that home and all organized, you can then start using that bag to take with you whenever you bring your puppy out and about around town or specifically to a training session. One of the most important things that you want to bring with you are cleanup supplies. And there is a bumper sticker out there that says, things happen and you're going to have to clean up on the go sometimes when you least expect it. And no matter how old your puppy is, accidents happen. It's an unfortunate thing. And so you want to be respectful of whatever environment that you're in, whether you are outside in a public park or parking lot. Even on a leader dog campus, maybe you're working in a store or a library, all of those environments, you want to make sure that you're going to clean up after your puppy. You could have crumbs spilled on the floor. You may have a urine accident. You may have a stool accident. Bring waste bags. And I like waste bags because they're not only for actually cleaning up stool, but I also put my paper towels that I've used and any other used items all in the baggie ready for me to take out of there and clean up. It also helps to control smell. So if there is an odor accident, then we can contain it all within the bag. So something to think about there. Also, small bags, small bottles of cleanup spray. And I saw one of our previous puppy raisers and puppy counselors take the regular spray that she uses to clean up large messes, but she had it in one of those little travel spray bottles. That's ingenious. So it can fit really easily in her puppy bag, and she could take that anywhere. We always want to make sure that you have a toy available too. And I realize that you're going to be in a puppy class setting, so why do you need a toy? Well, you're going to need a toy for a couple of reasons. There's inevitably going to be some downtime when you are working your puppy. There may be time that you are waiting for all of the participants to come into the class. There may be time that you're just sitting and listening to your puppy counselor lecture. And so when it is downtime or settle time, you want to make sure that you provide a certain appropriate outlet for your puppy to interact with or chew on. The other thing is if your puppy is stressed and they need an emotional outlet, it's nice to be able to offer them something. So make sure that you have a toy available. Also make sure you use a variety of treats and bring those, especially bring extra, more than what you think that you're gonna need. So on the average, we recommend that our puppy raisers use their dog's kibble as a way to reinforce all of those behaviors. A lot of us also recommend that you make some trail mix. And for trail mix for us means that you mix in a few tidbits of really wonderful, potent smelling other treats like jerkies and soft bits and things like that. So you may be working with your puppy's morning meal or evening meal, but I would bring an additional amount because sometimes you're going to go over that measured quantity and you want to be prepared because that day you might be doing a little extra work. Now, of course, the puppy's waistline and their physique is really important to us. We want to be mindful. So if you go over that allotted amount and you start dipping into the next supply of food, you just want to make sure that you deduct that amount from your puppy's next meal or two so they're not getting over the amount of calories that they're supposed to have. So there's also great virtual training session on transport. We talked all about how to get your puppy from point A to point B. And sometimes you might be in a little bit of a sticky situation where you have to navigate through a crowd or other tight space. You want to keep your puppy loose leash walking and focused on you. And so typically for that, we recommend that you either have like a long jerky type treat or even peanut butter on a spoon, and make sure that your puppy stays engaged with that the entire time that you're walking in the direction that you need to go. So aside from just your regular kibble or soft type treats, you want to make sure that you have your transport tool with you. Things like lick sticks or there are various products that look like a either roll-on or a bar of deodorant that you screw up for more and the dog's able to lick out of it. All of those fall under the category of transport tool, even like the travel size shampoo bottles, and we apply peanut butter in them, and that can be your transport tool. So make sure that you have something like that in your bag. One of the nice things, this is just kind of a side thought, is that when we are purchasing our bags for our puppy raisers, it probably just seems like we are willy-nilly purchasing any bag that's in black and blue, but we're actually looking for pockets. We're looking for ways where you can store your ID card, ways that you can store your water bottle. And some of our bags have great little pockets for you to put extra tools like your transport tool. Always want to make sure that your puppy comes dressed to do the job. Don't forget they're in this career path, and they're learning the expectations of a guide dog or a guide dog candidate. We want them to be dressed appropriately. So for us, that means having their appropriate collars on. Typically the martingale collar if they've grown into it, their buckle collar with their ID tag on it, and their jacket or bandana. Now, As you are approaching the class, you may not have your jacket or bandana on right away, but I would make sure that you have it easily accessible and ready to go so that your puppy can get dressed in it once you start training in class. Any management tools that you have been issued, you want to make sure that you bring those along as well. So, what is a management tool? Management tools are things that we use, tools that we use in order to increase the likelihood of getting desirable behavior. For us, many of the management tools that we use are a head halter, and that's similar to the tool that horses wear around their head and neck. And then we also use a body harness that clips with a leash in the front of their body, right above their breastbone. If you've been issued one of those tools previously, and maybe there's waxing and waning times where you're using it, or you're still in the conditioning process, getting your puppy acclimated to it, I understand that you might not be using it in that class right away, but bring it with you. Your puppy counselor may help you to incorporate that into the class-like setting. Also, make sure you have a water bowl. Now, sometimes our counselors are really good about putting out a community water bowl for everybody to get a drink of water if they need it, especially if you're using things like peanut butter during the class or any other salty treat. Want to make sure that the dogs have an opportunity to hydrate themselves, even if you're working in warm temperatures. Community bowls can be a little bit tricky though, because we don't know if there are any other viruses or diseases that are being carried by the other puppies. Things like mouth warts, even kennel cough can be transferred very easily. So it's always best to have your puppy's own bowl. So make sure that you have a either bowl with you. So many products on the market now are the collapsible transportable bowls. I know that we sell them in our gift shop, and they're very nice and handy to take with you. I actually always keep a portable bowl in my car with me too, and an extra bottle of water, so that any place I go and I'm traveling with my dogs, I always have the opportunity to give them a drink of water if they need it. And of course, your training mat, make sure that that's rolled up and accessible in your bag. You may not understand or know all the things that your puppy counselor has in store for you during that session. And things may happen on the go, things may change on the go. Your puppy may have different needs on that particular day. So you want to come prepared with those items. We talked about dressing your puppy for success in their jacket or bandana and their leash and their collar, but there's a dress code that's appropriate for our puppy raisers as well. You want to make sure when you're training your puppy that you're using comfortable, flexible clothing. Inevitably, you're going to be squatting and moving and bending, and you may be going up stairs. You may be going for a long walk. You may be working around traffic lights. And so any dress that you are using, you want to make sure that you are comfortable. If it's a windy day, items are not getting blown up or blown off. If it's cold, if it's inclement weather, you want to make sure you're dressing appropriately. Sometimes training sessions happen when it's raining out or when it's not 75 degrees and sunny out. And so you want to really make sure that you are dressed appropriately for that. If you're working inside, sometimes the AC is high and you don't want to be super chilly in that environment either. So make sure you bring a sweatshirt. One thing that I can't say enough, and I know that I'm at fault for this, is making sure whatever you have on your feet is appropriate for training. Now, I will tell you guys just a little window into my world and kind of a secret about myself. I love flip-flops. I could live in flip-flops. If I could wear flip-flops 365 days a year, I would. That's my favorite footwear. I'm just so comfortable in them. However, I know that it's not always a safe tool for me to wear as a puppy raiser or as a dog handler. My feet can easily get slipped out. I could stub a toe. I could scrape my foot. I can trip over my flip-flop. So you really want to be mindful about the footwear that you choose to wear. Typically sturdy shoes, shoes that have tread that are non-slip, shoes that click the heels are probably not ideal for working a puppy in. shoes that you can go for a distance walk in. So again, if you're working traffic or you're working on loose leash walking skills, you want to be able to work and walk for quite a bit of a difference. If you have shoes that are not appropriate for that session, it might hinder what you're doing as a dog handler. So be really mindful of that as well. Your treat bag, that's part of your clothing as well. And sometimes we try to put treats in our pocket or treats in a jacket pocket, and it can be a little bit clumsy in our treat delivery. And we know one of the successes that we have in order to give to our dogs is how we deliver our rewards. So you want to make sure that your treat bag fits on you comfortably and that it's easily accessible, doesn't have holes in it. Now, another thing that I'm guilty of, and you want to make sure that you're mindful of, is that you don't have the type of treat bag that if you bend over to pick something up, maybe you drop something, all of your treats go spilling out. So be careful of that. Make sure that the bag that you use is something that can be closed. Of course, Leader Dog supplies you with a treat bag once you get your brand new puppy. But one of the things that I find I really enjoy is picking out my own treat bag. And there are a ton on the market now. So go on Amazon or visit your pet store. Even take a look in our gift shop, and we've got tons of gift bags or treat bags available. Face coverings as well. Face coverings, right now, most of our meetings are non-required for our puppy raisers, and that's simply because of the pandemic. Now, as the weather gets a little bit nicer, some of our puppy counselors have opted to offer different sessions for the puppy raisers. They may be doing it outside in parking lots, and some of them may choose to do it inside buildings as well. You want to make sure that you are safe for yourself and for all of your surrounding puppy raisers and counselors, and bring your face covering. Now, everything that we talked about, with the exception of shoes, are available in our gift shop. So make sure that you either visit our website or give our gift shop a call. Right now, they're working digital purchases only. So unfortunately, you're not able to visit us inside our store. But no matter where you are in the world, you are able to get a 10% discount for all of our puppy raisers. So check out your comfortable clothing, buy a t-shirt. We even have some puppy raiser logoed special items. We have those portable water dishes. We have face coverings, and we have treat bags. We don't have shoes, but we do have socks. So timing and location are everything too, and that's something that you want to be mindful of. I always recommend somewhere to arrive about 5, 10, or maybe even 15 minutes early to your session. It depends on what's going on with your puppy, their age, their ability to focus. If you know that it's difficult for them to get there and settle in, that they need time to sniff and get acclimated to their environment or be comfortable. Maybe you need to find all of the things in your bag and get them sorted out. Make sure that you allow yourself time in order to do that. Some of our puppy counselors require that you come in and physically sign your name and sign in. You want to allow yourself time to do that. Also find the best seat in the house or best location in the house. Location is everything. So make sure that you're not the one that's just standing in the main pathway where all the dogs have to pass by, or at a doorway. You want to make sure that you come in and find the best possible spot for your puppy. If you have a puppy that is hypervigilant or reactive or just busy, you may want to station yourself maybe a little around a corner or hidden in some way, or just out of the main traffic way. And if you're early, you're able to do that far easier than if you're coming in last minute or late. Make sure that your puppy, of course, has time to park before they start their session. I know myself, if I have to go, I can't think about anything else. And our puppies are the same. Sometimes you also get a nervous bladder as well. So make sure that you show up with enough time, allow them to eliminate, and then go into your session so that they are ready to learn and you're ready to learn as well. Park yourself if you need to, of course. Opportunistic training. So what is opportunistic training? Well, there are going to be times that our puppies are going to be coming in, they're going to be bounding past your puppy, and your puppy may be lying there really quietly next to your chair on their mat, working on their toy, and another puppy comes bounding by, and they're very social, and they're at the end of their leash, and they kind of go towards your puppy's face. We want you to be aware and we want you to be prepared. Opportunistic training is where I can either distract my puppy, ask them to follow another behavior that's more appropriate than interacting with that dog that comes bounding by. I may even offer some extra food, some bonus kibbles right there on their mat in order to reward them for making that right decision to continue to lay there. That's all opportunistic training. And again, we talked about using our transport tool, something like a long jerky stick or a peanut butter stick, or even one of those wheelie lickety stick tools, and that is opportunistic training. So if you're trying to navigate through all the other puppies in the class, make sure you have one of those tools to set them up for success. So some class staples that you can expect when you're attending class. Almost all of our puppy counselors are going to start their class with a relaxation protocol. If you're not familiar with a relaxation protocol, there is a virtual training session done way back last year about how we do a relaxation protocol and why. Basically, this is a way of teaching our puppies to chillax. We want them to almost get bored in the environment and lay right next to you and tune everything else out. So it's set up that your instructor is going to read off a whole bunch of items. They're going to ask your puppy to sit for 5 seconds, sit for 10 seconds, sit while you raise your hands in the air, all of these crazy things. It's important while we're doing our relaxation protocol to remember this is the one time that we don't use our marker word, which is very contraindicated to everything else we tell you. We always remind you to mark and reward. And this time during our relaxation protocol, as your counselor reads off all of these itemized tasks, you actually don't mark in between. The reason being is that we want our puppies just to hang out there, kind of get bored, tuned out. They go, yeah, she's doing all this crazy stuff. She's lifting her arms in her air. She's kicking her legs. She's bending over, tying her shoes. And as long as I just lay here or sit here, she's going to keep feeding me treats. That is the key point of the relaxation protocol. When it's all said and done, you can reward and mark and reward at the very end and release your puppy. So, of course, for more information regarding relaxation protocols, go to your puppy manual. The basics of relaxation protocols are right in there. Also, on our Facebook page under files, there's information specifically about relaxation protocols. And this website that I saw, Laura Fisher just dropped into the chat room, Champion of My Heart. Many of us really, really like this relaxation protocol tool because it's the same relaxation protocols that we're used to, that same 15-day course, except the author of this website reads off each itemized item on the relaxation protocol so that you don't have to keep on looking back to a piece of paper and figure out what to do next with your puppy. So it flows really easily. She's got all 15 days on MP3 files. I actually uploaded it to my phone just like I would do a song or my music. And so when I want to do a relaxation protocol, I just pull one of those items up and I'm able to do it really easily and really hands-free. All right, another class staple that your puppy counselor is probably going to ask you to perform is I Spy. And I Spy is a game that we use in order to help with our puppies' comfort and compliance when they're being handled. Again, this starts to prepare them for things like grooming, veterinary exams, or any other sort of examination. The idea behind this is that we rest our hand on the puppy. And our puppy counselor is going to say, I spy They're going to list off a whole bunch of items. I spy my puppy's head. I spy my puppy's collar, the center of their back, maybe even their tail or their chin. As they call out that item, you're going to use your hand to rest on that part of their body. Once your hand's rested in place, just softly, you're going to mark with that nice exuberant yes. And that same hand that was resting on your dog's body is going to reach into your treat bag, grab a treat, and deliver it. So, what we want the puppies to do and to learn from this particular exercise is to not always be looking for hands that come at them as treat devices. We want them to be compliant and comfortable with hands reaching at them, meaning that they're going to rest on your body. Once they're done resting on your body, you're going to get a little reward for that. So it's a really great exercise that I think that you can't practice enough. And again, it's one of those class staples along with the relaxation protocol. So what are you going to be working on in class? Well, that is dependent on your counselor and somewhat dependent on some of the tools that we find as puppy development coordinators are most valuable and most important in order to give your puppies good success. We have some ideals that we have spelled out over the course of a year, things like working on stairs and meet and greets and distractions and obedience and practicing loose leash skills and your marking skills and your cueing skills. All of those things we have spelled out for our puppy counselors to work on, and they may work on it in various orders. One of the things that you can do as the puppy raiser is make sure that you check with your puppy counselor first prior to the meeting. This may be even a week or two prior to your scheduled meeting. Ask your puppy counselor, what are we going to be working on and how can I prepare myself? Are there pages in our puppy manual that I need to research? Are there virtual training sessions? I think that we've done a pretty good job of covering almost all of these topics in our virtual training sessions. Is there other support material that I can learn about in order to prepare myself when I go to class? It can be really hard when you're showing up for class. You're not really sure how to work through this particular skill, and you have a puppy that's on the go, they're busy and they're really distracted that day. Maybe they're bitey and they're mouthing and they're chewing. So it can be hard to put all of those things together. If you're prepared going into it with those skills and you have an expectation of what the relaxation protocol looks like, what the I Spy game is going to look like, and what other skills they're working on, it's only going to help you out. Also, if you have any sort of questions regarding that material, you want to come with those questions in advance and be prepared to ask your puppy counselor. Lastly, and probably one of the most important things, is to be your puppy's advocate. Set your puppy up for success and comfort. Make sure you move as if necessary. And this is one of those things that I probably can't harp on enough because I always see. I'll set up an example for you. So we're in puppy class, we're all working. There's puppies staggered all over with their raisers. And there's one puppy that's really exuberant. They're barking, they're rowdy, they're trying to distract all of the other puppies, and you feel obligated as yourself as a puppy raiser just to stay there. And I'm going to recommend that you actually set your puppy up for success. Consider moving. You can be discreet about it. You can be really friendly about it. You can say something like, I'm sorry, my puppy's really distracted. I'm going to go ahead and remove myself from the situation. Support your puppy so that they can learn and be successful. It's also okay to call it quits. If your puppy is having a bad training day, and we've all had them, every single puppy raiser I know has had a bad training day, it's okay to call it quits and just go home and follow up with your counselor at a later time, ask for specific help. But if you're having an off day, it's okay. We understand because we've all been there. Also, it's okay to make modifications that meet your puppy's needs. For example, things like doing the relaxation protocol, we may ask for you to cue your puppy to sit for 15 seconds or down for 15 seconds. If your puppy can't be successful at 15 seconds or 10 seconds, then cue your puppy for 5 seconds and reward on your own after that period of time. I promise you, your puppy counselor is not gonna not discourage you from doing this. You're doing things in a way that's gonna help your puppy in the long run, knowing that you can work up to that 15-second increment of time later on in the future, maybe when your puppy's having a good day. But today, they're a 5-second puppy and we're gonna make it easy for them. If you find that being right in the mix of things with class is too hard for your puppy, maybe you have to work 20 feet away from everybody else and modify the other skills that your puppy is working on. Maybe that's the day that you just work on settling in a chair, nice and quiet with your puppy. But again, you want them to be successful. Maybe a timeout is needed. And I'm not necessarily talking about your puppy here. I'm talking about you. Frustration goes down the leash. So maybe you need to walk away, get a drink of water, take a big deep breath, go in your car and scream if you're frustrated, and come back and be ready to go at it again. We don't want to stress our puppies because we're stressed at the same time. Sometimes your puppy may need a timeout. And again, that's one of the reasons why we recommend that you bring some extra toys and some treats. Maybe your puppy just needs to go sit on the grass and chew one of their toys and have a brief moment just to be a puppy. Sometimes they can be frustrated as well. Of course, don't forget about your biological needs during class. If your puppy needs an extra park break, be ready to take them out. If they need an extra drink of water, it's really hard to focus if your mouth is dry. If you're using a lot of treats, they may need a drink of water. So stop and make sure you give them a drink of water. All right, guys, I think that is a world record short session for me. I did it in 30 minutes, but that leaves us time for questions. So I'm going to back out of this presentation and hopefully you guys will be able to see me in just 1 second. And I can answer any questions that you guys might have. We seem to be getting some terrible feedback. So everyone, you can just check your microphones, make sure there's a slash or a line through it that assures us that we're not getting feedback.
Now, Melissa, we can't hear you. Nope, you're still muted.
How about
now? I can hear you. Now you're muted again.
Is that better?
We've got a couple of questions in the chat box. Melissa, you're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can.
Okay, I left and came back.
All right, well, you're back and I can hear you now.
All right, so as for questions, guys, let me just dial up and see what's going on here.
We've
All
got
right.
Mark and Debbie both in the chat with their hands raised.
Debbie, what's your question? You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
It's more of a comment that we need to remember that at our puppy classes, our puppies are all different ages. So it doesn't help for us to get frustrated when we have an 8-week-old puppy compared to somebody else in the group that has a 20-week-old puppy or a 8-month-old puppy. We do what our puppies can handle, and we need to remember that it doesn't reflect on us if our puppies are young.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So many of the behaviors that and the skills that we recommend that you work on, you're often going to hear us say as a puppy development coordinator or as your counselor, everything is very age specific. So what your expectations are for an 8-week-old puppy are going to be very different for our older and adult puppies. When you walk into a class and you've got a brand new young puppy and you see a 12-month-old puppy that's laying down quietly on a mat, chewing their bone, don't get frustrated. I know that feels like, why can't my puppy do that? My puppy's busy and looking around. Don't worry about it. Your puppy's going to get there eventually. So build onto that skill. I know, Debbie, that's fresh in your mind because you have a youngster at home. So we've all been there. I know we've got another hand raised. Mark, what's your question or comment?
Yes, Melissa. I was wondering if you could go into a little detail on the bandana in the jacket. I know the jacket is what we want them to wear ultimately all the time. When would you transition? Obviously, when the jacket fits, but is there a certain age or time frame when you would eliminate the bandana altogether and just go strictly jacket?
Not at all. There's not necessarily an age limit or a requirement. Some of it is up to user's choice. So some of the comments that I've heard before are raisers saying that I don't transfer my puppy's bandana to the jacket until they're mature enough and respectful enough not to do it. Our jackets are pretty expensive. If you've asked for a second one, you've probably not been given a second one because if they get chewed up, we're not able to replace them very easily. They take a while to process and they may be a little bit hard to come by. So when your puppy is ready, when they fit into it, you can start wearing it, but the choice is really up to you. You may choose specific locations as well. So sometimes you opt to wear a bandana, maybe you're doing it in class, but if you're going to go in public, you want your puppy to have a little bit more visibility and a little bit more recognition from our organization, and you may choose to have them wear the jacket. One of the things that I really like to do is to make sure that your puppies are conditioned to putting their head into it and feeling really comfortable. Most of the time we recommend that our puppies, instead of having the bandana and the two ends tied around their neck, that you make it into a loop and you actually lure and practice that going over their head. The reason being is that helps prepare them for having a guide dog harness slipped over their head, and the jacket simulates the same thing as well. So you can always start with the bandana, and as your puppy matures and gets more comfortable with that conditioning, you start to move along to the jacket. Marcia, what's your question?
Okay, on our questionnaires, one of the items that they ask is if they chase their tails. So I know the one I have right now, she likes chasing her tail. I kind of let her play with herself, but if it gets too much, I'll stop her. But is that what we should be doing?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it can almost be its own virtual training session. I should actually make a note about that. So sometimes those behaviors can be reinforced different ways. It can be reinforced by the dog spinning and chasing their tail. If they eventually grab their tail and they're able to chew on it, sometimes that can become a really fun behavior. It also can become a crowd pleasing behavior. And what I mean by that is if it draws a lot of attention, if people are removing her tail, pulling out of her mouth, or laughing as a response to her spinning and chewing on her tail, all of those things can be really reinforcing for a dog. What I typically do, and I can tell you, I have a dog at home. Many of you guys know that I have my Rhodesian Ridgeback puppy. She actually just turned 11 months yesterday. So from time to time, she would spin and try to go after her tail. Now, I know that she has the potential to make this very problematic. So when my husband and I observe this behavior, we ignore it and we pretend like it didn't even happen. Once she stops on her own, then we call her over and we engage with her in a different way. I pick up a toy and play with her at that moment, or just give her some loving and some attention so that she's not reinforced for playing with her tail in any way. She's getting reinforced for stopping that behavior on her own. If it goes just a couple of repetitions, a couple of twirls around, or even for a minute or two once in a while, we're not worried about it. But if it's ever excessive, definitely either contact your counselor. I know you're a counselor, Marcia. Contact puppy development or contact our vet department. That's a good question. So I'm going to jump into the chat room because I know we have lots of comments. Thank you, Laura Fisher. I know that you were pretty active in the chat room. I saw Barry Lynn and VJ jumping in as well. Laura says she's got a toy in her bag that's always in there, so it's essentially new every time she pulls it out. Yep, great to have those toys. Linda Gimble says peanut butter and a squeeze tube, that works great. Yep, that's those little shampoo bottles or travel bottles that many of us have, and they contain peanut butter, really nice on the go. Lori Fujimoto says, if you haven't seen it, a Water Boy portable bowl is awesome. They don't spill more than a little bit of water in the bowl. When you tip them over, you can fill the reservoir with ice too, and it has a handle. Very nice. Thank you for that tip. We always like to share tips with other puppy raisers and let them know what tools have worked for you. I actually have to say that probably about a month ago, a puppy raiser had put on our Facebook page a mat that they use inside of their crate. I saw it. I purchased it. I love it. My dog loves it. And so thank you so much for sharing those recommendations. Dorothy says, rats, Central Wisconsin raisers. I guess we have to leave our high heels at home next time. Yes, you do, especially when it's 30 below and snowing. Probably a good time to leave your heels at home. Barry Lynn, thank you for putting in that link to the Water Boy. Carolyn Crow says, excellent presentation. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, Carolyn. Laura Fisher, she says, oh, champion of my heart relaxation protocol. Yeah, it's a great link to have. Like I said, I have those files right on my phone and I use them all the time. Shelly, she says, if your gal puppy is in heat, please do not bring her to class. Yes, Shelly, I've totally forgot about that point. That is happening, and it can be very distracting for other puppies, including females. It's not just the males only, but those scents are very strong and very powerful and very distracting, so it's always good to leave your females in heat at home. Daniel Rathburn says, my puppy is trying to eat everything, even rocks and concrete. 9 weeks, yes. Make sure you check in with your puppy counselor, Daniel. That is normal. So the good thing I can tell you is that that's not an abnormal puppy. You have a perfectly normal puppy, but there are some things that we can definitely do to help you out. So check in with your puppy counselor there. Mary Haddis says, I like to include gloves, hand sanitizer, an extra leash, and an extra martingale to use for tethering in my puppy bag. Those are great tips. Yes, I forgot about gloves because sometimes you do need them in a cleanup. I'll save a story for a different time. I just will tell you I needed gloves. That's the message of the story. Troy says, thanks, Melissa. Off to work. If you guys have not watched or looked at our Leader Dog Facebook page, Troy is on there today. He's our voice of Leader Dog, doing a fantastic job, and I can't wait to read more of his stories. Looks like we've got a couple of more comments here in the chat room. Mike says, is there a minimum age you recommend before starting to bring a puppy to class? No, especially with our leader dog puppies. So specifically, if you are going to a leader dog outing, we have vaccination and health requirements that we have expectations for. So as soon as you get your puppy, check in with your counselor, double check to make sure that it's a safe environment for a baby puppy, but typically you do not have to wait. You can bring your puppy right away. There's lots of skills to learn. If you ever, and this is for everyone across the board with puppies, no matter the age, if you're ever in a situation where you don't feel like it's appropriate to bring your puppy's ill, or maybe they're in heat, or maybe you don't feel like they've been vaccinated enough, you can go yourself without a puppy. There's so much to learn without even having a puppy there. And sometimes I think that you benefit even more by watching other people and picking up on their skills. Irene says, what age should they be before their first meeting? Kind of sounds like our last question. Hopefully that was able to answer that for you. Kathy says, great new cleanup product from Bissell, Stomp and Go. Good to know. Again, we love our product suggestions. Thank you so much, Kathy. Lynn says, I hope it doesn't reflect on us if our puppies is several months old either. Definitely not. We know that puppies come with all different skills, backgrounds, and abilities. And so I don't think that any one of us should judge another puppy raiser by their skills. We're all doing our best. Lori Fujimoto says, Lynn, Shorn, I was thinking the same. Puppies ebb and flow in their training and on different days. Yes, we definitely do have good days and bad days. Another question from Daniel Rathburn. He says, under what circumstances do we put on the bandana? Anytime your puppy is in official working and training mode. When you have a new baby puppy, I know that you're one of our new raisers. When you're going to your training sessions, definitely have a bandana on. If you're going to go into a public space like a store, a grocery store, or a restaurant, you're going to want to have a jacket or a bandana on your puppy. If you're just going for a relief walk around the block, not necessary to have your bandana on at that moment. All right. Barry Lynn says, Skippy squeeze peanut butter. Oh, nice. And I know Jeff has one too. Actually, they have a squeeze bottle now that you can just squeeze out on your own, which is really, really handy. Elizabeth says, I was having technical issues when you mentioned that there are female puppies available now. I can pick up as early as Monday. Whom should I follow up with to discuss picking up? Should I wait until I'm officially assigned a puppy coordinator? If you would like, Elizabeth, you should already have a puppy coordinator if you're getting this, getting our invites for this meeting. If you would like, let me know what area you live in, and we can make sure we look up your puppy raiser. All right, more from the Skippy peanut butter. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Laura, for that information for Elizabeth. Looks like we've got a final one from Mary Haddis. Here's the great air sanitizer. Oh, it says an air sanitizer. Very, very cool. I did not know about that. In regards to the comment, extra martingale for tethering, is it safe to tie a puppy when a leash is attached to a martingale? Deb and Sven, it depends on the situation and the environment. Of course, the number one is that they really need to be supervised. I wouldn't put a puppy tethered on a martingale and walk away and not observe what they're doing. So if they're around your leg or right within a foot or two away from you, then it would be appropriate. But of course, make sure that you watch your puppy very closely. Some still good questions coming in, guys. Thanks for all your participation. Lots of good information. Shelly says, if you want a friend to attend with you, the puppy counselor may benefit from a heads up, especially if the friend is willing to serve as a helper. Definitely. And And for those times that you are attending without your puppy, the puppy counselor is definitely going to welcome that, because a lot of times they're going to need a second set of hands. They may need setup and takedown help, or just help moving people about and things like that. I know your puppy counselor is going to appreciate that. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up there. Such great questions and great conversation today. Thank you so much for attending. We will see you next Tuesday